Tonight we have our council meeting for Monday 22nd of April, starting at the 5:30 mark. I would like to acknowledge and pay respects to the Kalawa Pakana people as the traditional and original owners of Lutruwita and continuing custodians of this land on which we gather. We also acknowledge and pay our respects to the Tasmanian Aboriginal elders past and present. In attendance, we have our wonderful councillors here. We do have an apology from Councillor Bilczynski tonight. Any declarations of interest, item 2?
Yes,
Councillor Holster.
one. Member of Julie purchasing. I'd like to end the room.
And that is 5.1. And you'll be leaving.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest from the table? No, thank you. So item 3 is procedural. 3.1, the confirmation of minutes. If I could have a move the recommendation, please.
So moved.
Councillor Murphy, thank you. And a second, Councillor Ennis, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Merely procedural, man.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Yeah, nothing further to add, ma'am.
Thank you. Any further comment or questions? Councillor Murphy's closed.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 3.2 is public question time. 3.241 is responses to questions raised at prior meetings. There is a response there and a recommendation there. If I could have a move, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Viney.
Second.
And Councillor Murphy. Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought it was a really good response that's come from council about that particular intersection of Middle Road. I personally avoid it completely. So hopefully, with working with the state growth, we can achieve a solution sometime in the future, because I agree with the question from us. So thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
I concur with Councillor Viney, Mayor. I think the response was appropriate and wholeheartedly agree it is an issue, and I personally have observed and witnessed on numerous occasions vehicles doing exactly what Mr. Aylett had described to us, and obviously it will be a moving feast.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? No. Councillor Viney, to close, please.
Consider it closed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All of those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 3.2.2 is questions on notice from the public. There are no questions there. 3.2.3, however, is questions without notice from the public. So if we have anybody from the gallery who would like to come up and ask a question, we ask that you state your name, address, and ask the question. Doug Janney's there, sorry. We'll take turns. Thank you. Mr. Janney.
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Douglas Janney, 23 Watkinson Street, Devonport. Comment. The print on the screen behind you, Mayor, needs to be increased by about 50%. It's not readable at the back of the room.
Thank you for pointing that out. It's
The question I have is, when will the wall hanging in the foyer that says Queen Elizabeth II is the Queen of Australia be either covered up or removed?
No answer there. Thank you.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Once we receive notification from the Australian government, we make that change, and at this point, we still haven't received that.
A bit about her being Queen of Australia needs to be covered up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the gallery? Thank you. Hello.
Hello, my name's Wayne Pilgrim. I live at 114 Parker Street, Devonport. I have 2 questions to ask tonight. Roundabout put on the corner of William Street and Parker Street, because I've nearly been T-boned there about 5 times. My daughter's nearly been killed there because you drive along and then you pull out, you can't see for the parked cars that are parked, and the people are coming at 60 kilometres down William Street, and it's an accident waiting to happen. So I'm not a roundabout person, but I would like to see a roundabout put there. Would save someone's life one day, I reckon.
Thank you. What we'll do with your question is we will give you an answer in writing. Would you like that?
For
Would
me
you
to
like
put
an
it in
answer?
writing,
Yes.
yeah, I'll get something done and bring it into the council.
No. We'll send you an answer in
Oh,
writing
yep,
to
yep.
your question tonight.
Sounds fine.
Lovely. Thank you. And,
And the second question was, a year or two ago, I heard on the radio there was a 10-cent deposit scheme going to be brought in,
a
possibly.
container deposit scheme from
Yep.
the state government.
Yeah, and I was just wondering what is actually happening with that. Is it still going to happen, or?
That's a very good question. So currently we're waiting on the state government. They have been looking into that, and there has been a huge hold up because they've been discussing it for quite a few years actually. But we can find out some more information again and send through to you in writing if you would like.
Thank
and
you.
give an update.
Much appreciated.
Much
Thank you.
appreciated. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. Shane Warren, Unit 2, 134 North Fenton Street. I still have some questions on the sporting infrastructure master plan and been attempting to join some of the dots. It seems some time after the adoption of this sporting infrastructure master plan in December 2021, the tail wagged the dog a bit, and the focus of the Netball Association and Basketball Association shifted from Maidstone Park and Forbes Street, respectively, to the proposed Oval Precinct. I read also in the sporting infrastructure master plan that Geraldton Park was also an option for a multi-use indoor and outdoor area. However, I cannot find any reference to that sporting user group being included in the actual consultation process before the sports infrastructure priority investment plan was adopted. The question is, can you confirm or deny, please, that they were included, and if so, what their view was? If they weren't included, why not?
Thank you. We'll take that on notice and get back to you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question for you, if I can there.
Yes, sir.
What I also find flawed, that's my word, of course, is this disconnection between the Sporting Infrastructure Master Plan 2021 and the Sports Infrastructure Priority Investment Plan 2024. There are no plans for what happens at Maidstone Park or Forbes Street upon relocation of netball and basketball based on the Priority Investment Plan to North Fenton Street. And the community will be left with a huge expanse of recreation zone land fit for purpose at Maidstone Park and Geraldton Park, and basically a square peg jammed into a round hole at the oval. So can you explain, please, why this poor example of strategic recreation planning has been allowed to continue?
Thank you. We can get back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions from the gallery? Mr. Garden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Malcolm Garden, 4 Beaumont Drive, Mundella. Problem throat, sorry about that. My question is directed to the General Manager in relation to advice dated the 11th of April 2024, received from the delegate of the Principal Officer under the Right to Information Act, and this is the statement, that there were no itemised delay cost claims other than the information provided on the attached financial statement. Now, to be absolutely clear in understanding that statement, will you, General Manager, clarify once and for all if Voss Construction was delayed due to Fairbrother Proprietary Limited's extended occupation of the waterfront parkland site? And if so, was Voss compensated in any way whatsoever, including any financial trade-offs through other avenues under the contract, which effectively resulted in delay costs being surreptitiously paid by council?
General
Yeah, through you, Mayor, we'll provide a written response to Mr. Garden.
You don't know whether Fairbrother delayed Voss and whether any costs they were compensated in any way?
We're happy to get back to you in writing.
You'll come over, right?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Second question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Reference item 1.4 of the GM's report on page 52 of tonight's agenda, and I quote in part from the GM's report, met with Voss Construction CEO Kurt Jones regarding finalisation of the Waterfront Park project. Now, my question, again to the General Manager, is did finalisation of the Waterfront Park project include resolving outstanding monetary claims for payments made or in dispute? And if the answer is yes, did that meeting result in adjustments to the contract records already provided by Council to me in response to my RTI request dated 21st of February 2024? So finalising the contract, was it to do with monetary matters? And does that affect the records that I've already received?
Yes, through you, Mayor, we will provide a written response to Mr. Garden. I will confirm that, the information we provided through your RTI request was correct.
You're checking it's correct. So you don't know if you agreed any extraneous monetary amount outstanding to finalise the contract. Thank you.
I'll provide a written response.
Thank you.
Question 3, and if you just bear with me, please, Mayor, that'd be appreciated. Reference 5.1, which is the Julie Burgess Inc. financial support, page 34 of tonight's agenda. I just hope that the councillors are aware of the following when you consider the recommendation later on. As of July 2024, Devonport ratepayers will have contributed $210,000 to Julie Burgess Inc., JB Inc., over the term of the current agreement, which has been most generous compared to grants to Home Hill and the Tasmanian Arboretum, which I'm reliably informed attracts many tourists on a daily basis and is world renowned. The request from JB is for another approximately $180,000 over 4 years, and the recommendation is for a ratepayer subsidy of approximately $86,000 over 2 years. The officer's recommendation equates to annually subsidising 520 passengers to the tune of $80 each, which coincidentally just happens to be the current base fare. The report states that JB Inc. has consistently achieved high passenger numbers compared to Council's operation of the vessel. But the annual subsidy requested remains the same, plus a further ask for CPI, or around another $1,900 compounding year on year. Now, despite significant ratepayer subsidies, the report also includes a concern that JB Inc. may risk being wound up or be unable to satisfactorily maintain the vessel. Now, hardly an organisation showing progress despite significant ratepayer subsidies for the last 4 years. The overall optimistic belief that JB Inc.'s fortunes will somehow improve on completion of the adjacent wharfs in East Devonport is questionable, as the fact remains that access to reliably sheltered waters and favourable weather conditions for sailings does not exist to support a reliable forward sailing schedule. So my question...
Question, yes?
Yes. So the question is, have all the councillors been privy to JB Inc.'s annual financial statements for the last 4 years and comprehensively shown to what extent passenger numbers need to increase for JB Inc. to run a fully self-funded and financially sustainable operation devoid of ratepayer subsidies? Have all the councillors been informed as to what the last financial year shows and how many more passengers will be needed to make it self-reliant?
Thank you, Mr.
And I
Garden.
suggest it's probably 3 times the current numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Garden. Appreciate that. We've certainly had workshops on this over the time that the new council group has been together, and we certainly have been quite well informed on where it is and what they're asking from us, and that's what we're going to make a decision on tonight. So thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We believe in miracles. Thank you. That's it.
I don't know about that, but thank you. Any other questions from the gallery? Hello.
Hello, Jasmine from 21 Miller Street, Devonport. Dear Mayor, Councillors and Executive, as the Devonport Council is a company corporation through its registration as a body corporate, including its registrations of various ABNs, ACNs, etc., leads to the following question. Question 1. Are the Devonport Council's ratepayer shareholders in these companies? And if so, have any ratepayers personal properties, business properties, land, etc., including any council administration offices, council properties, council land, footpaths and roads, not exhaustive, been provided as equity or security for any loans the council has taken out in the past 12 years that are now costing ratepayers over $1 million in interest for the year-to-date financial year of $1,011,605 as of tonight's 31st of March 2024 operational report?
I didn't catch it all, but I'm trying, so it's quite exhaustive. Sorry, what was your full name? Sorry.
Gabby Burnett.
Thank you, Gabby. Yeah, we'll just have to provide you a written response because it was quite a full-on question and I want to make sure that we've seen it and put it together very well.
Question 2. Preempt. If Devonport ratepayers are now shareholders of the council's affiliated registered companies and corporations, as one would then assume the Devonport councillors are directors of all the above, leading to the following question. In the best interest of the community, whom one presumes are the shareholders of these companies, are the Devonport councillors directors and shareholders of all affiliated registered companies and corporations of the Devonport Council? If not, who are the directors, both executive and non-executive, and shareholders of all Devonport Council's affiliated registered companies and corporations, including any public-private partnerships, agreements with NGOs, trusts or foundations and other councils as of the 19th of February and the 22nd of April of 2024.
Through you, Mayor, just to provide a little bit of clarity, council is actually not a company, so we're a local government authority established under the Local Government Act 1993. So we don't have directors or shareholders as such. We're a creature of state government's legislation and a local government authority. So
Is that all? Or would you like more in?
I'm a proxy, so I've just asked the question.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Don't shoot you.
So, Gabby, if I can ask though, but you'd like the information sent back to you, not the person that's actually asked the question.
Oh, that's me.
But you're the proxy. Okay. Thank you. Any further questions from the gallery? Hello.
Thanks. My name's Peter Aylett, 4 Olive Court, my indebtor, Devonport. In regards to the item that I raised last council meeting, I was also promised a written response. That's been a month now and I still haven't received anything.
Oh, I do apologise. I'm so sorry.
When might I expect that?
Thank you.
yeah, there's been a written response done, which is in an agenda, but I'll follow up there why it hasn't
Been sent.
been sent with
We
the
do
right.
apologise. That's certainly not what was intended.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got to be clear, that's in the attachment.
I might just check.
Ian Hack from Victoria Street, Devonport. These kind people here tonight have asked you a number of questions, and I'm just curious as to why they've been delayed and delayed and delayed. No written response, no answer tonight. Don't you know your stuff? Isn't that why you're here? Isn't that why you were voted in? Give them answers. Do it.
Thank you. We have asked permission from those people that were here tonight. If
They've got no answers. None of them.
we have answered.
That's why you're all here. All of you around this big
Thank
table.
you.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I might just refer the gentleman to our public question time policy. So that does outline the process that members of the public can use to ask questions, and with questions without notice, the policy does say that preferably they provide in writing by 12 o'clock on the day of the meeting, and that allows the necessary research to be done so the question can be answered on the night. We don't prevent people from asking those questions on the night, and we answer them where possible, but we want to make sure the information that's provided is accurate, and so then if we need to come back in writing, we do. The public question time policy does encourage members of the public to put their either questions on notice, so put them in the agenda, or to, if they can email them through by 12 o'clock on the day of the meeting, they will then be answered on the night at the meeting.
Thank you. Any further questions from the public gallery? We'll move on. 3.3 is questions on notice from councillors. We have none. Oh, sorry, Mr. Gunn, you're, oh, thank you.
No,
That's all right. And 3.4 is notice of motion, which we have none. So moving on to item 4 is planning authority matters. 4.1 is 52 Nicol Street. If I could have a mover of the recommendation there, please. Go ahead. Thank you. Councillor Moore. And a seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Martin, thank you. Councillor Moore.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I would like to approve the application and grant the permit for 52 Nicol Street for 4 dwellings on this property. I note that one of the city's biggest problem is not enough housing at the moment. And so 4 units fits our brief. We also know that in Devonport, the occupancy rate of most of our houses is under 2 people. So unit building and meeting density is the way that our city needs to go. So I'm happy to support this motion. I do note the representative had a very fair objection and cautions to the developer. And I note that condition 3, the concrete plinth, is in direct response to his representation.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with Councillor Moore's points, and that it's good that Mr. Otterson's suggestion to change the orientation of the roof to allow installation of solar panels has actually been passed on by council to the applicant. Congratulate on council on doing that. I just got probably a dandy point. In condition 3, as Councillor Moore suggested, states that the concrete plinth is to continue at a height of 100 millimetres along the property boundary to ensure no overflow from the sewer pump system enters adjoining properties. However, under representations, second dot point, the wording there says will be requested that this continue at 100 millimetre high. So we've got a condition, but then in the write-up we're saying that it's being requested. Just
you want some clarity?
Well, I think it should be that a condition has been applied in the wording, not that it has been requested. It's a little bit picky probably, but I thought it was a little bit misleading. It's in the condition, so it's not, I'm just picking up in the commentary. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we want some clarity? No, all good. Thank you. Any further comments or questions from councillors? Councillor Sheen.
Thank you, Anne. Yes, I'll also be voting approval. I think noting that it's for specialist disability accommodation would be great for the city. Really good use of that little block of land. And I'd just like to make a special note of Mr. Otterson's comments. Is to be commended, very clear, no emotion, offered a couple of practical solutions. I thought it was fantastic representation in public. That's the way to do it. Very sad to see that he's now a retired engineer. Encouraging him to go back to work. Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, questions from the council table? No, Councillor Moore to close then, please.
Consider it closed, Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 4.2 is moving right along. 15 Collins Way, Tucker. If I could have a member of the recommendation, please. Councillor Murphy, thank you. And a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Barney, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Mayor. The proponent has obviously met all the necessary performance criteria as outlined under Lupa. There was one representation, however, those concerns raised by the representative have been addressed. So this really is just a tick and flick exercise.
Thank you. Councillor Barney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The one question I got from the report was to do with the size of that. roof building being no more than 400 metres square. Because I thought that was interesting that a number had been plucked from nowhere, but that was not the case. And I thank our planning officers for steering me down the correct path for that. So for the benefit of others, that that 400 metres is considered an appropriate area or footprint to allow for a substantial dwelling and associated outbuildings. So for this particular rural living block, it's a fairly substantial block, and so that would allow for much, allows for more space for more buildings. Also, it's consistent with the other larger dwellings in that development. Thank you.
Thank you. It's more enlightened now. Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the council table? Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wish to touch on clause 11.4.1. The site coverage, acceptable solutions, the site coverage must not be more than 400 metres squared. The proposed development is 796 metres square, so basically nearly double, which apparently is consistent with existing properties in the area. Just wonder if the officer could provide some examples of similar properties in that area.
Mr. Mountain.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for your question, Councillor Martin. In the actual applicant's supporting planning submission, they noted a few examples, they being 202 Tugger Road and number 2 Collins Way, I believe. And certainly if you ratify on the aerial image and site coverage, we're looking at site coverage of those properties over 700 metres squared, they being both dwellings and sheds combined.
That leads my sort of next question. When you start looking at those properties, the first property that was built out there of that size, what was that compared to?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Certainly take your point. I guess a lot of the early development in Collins Way was assessed under the interim planning scheme. Now the provision for site coverage was a little bit different under the interim planning scheme. It was actually 500 metres squared.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. All good? Thank you. Any further questions from the table? No. Oh, Councillor Murphy. Oh, thought your light was on. Sorry. Oh, good. Well, Councillor Murphy, you can close out then.
Thanks, Mayor. I was just probably jumping the gun.
Preempting me.
That's exactly right.
Well done.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We're moving on to item 5 reports. 5.1 is the Julie Burgess Financial Support Agreement. All the information has been put to councillors and the recommendation is there if they can have. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Murphy. Hollister is to leave the room. I did forget. Thank you. Okay. Nothing. If I can have a move of the recommendation, please.
Moved. Second.
Councillor Viney and Councillor Murphy is a seconder. Thank you. Councillor Viney.
I'll just hold my discussion till the end. Thanks, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Okay. I'll go with this thing. In light of what Mr. Garden has raised this evening, I think over a period of time, the number of workshops that have been held on this particular matter, the general consensus has been fairly consistent. And there has been some robust debate around this particular issue over a period of time, and I take on board what Mr. Garden, and I know Mr. Garden has not been necessarily a supporter of this particular enterprise, and council's involved in it over a number of years. However, I have been a firm believer, and whether it be rightly or wrongly, that at some point in time, and I suppose I've probably been the loudest advocate with capping with respect to our continued financial support of the enterprise. I do believe, having participated in business activity on the Mersey River, that the Julie Burgess does create a significant amount of interest on the river, especially for visitors. Whether they sail on it or whether they don't, it's a bit like the Lady Nelson in Launceston in the Tamar River. Becomes a bit of a focal point, and I think with the impending redevelopment of the Keeley in East Devonport, and the increased level of visitation with 2 new larger vessels. I think the location and the Julie Burgess of exposure will be increased. Having said that, that is partially or the main reason for seeing a cap on the level of financial support towards it. Because if the Julie Burgess is not able to, and through its financial statements, become self-sustainable, I would be the first person to say the council should no longer support it. But I also believe we must give it the greatest opportunity. Yes, time has not necessarily been in the Julie Burgess's favour. However, the level of promotion that it does provide biannually at the Wooden Boat Festival is significant for Devonport. Again, it does create that interest for people to come and engage in Devonport's maritime history, which is significant. Having, again, as I said, had a business enterprise that was involved in that with respect to preserving some of our maritime history and getting to know that over a number of years, it is significant. And I think it's one of those things that we can't necessarily throw away. As our city grows, it needs to have its links back to its heritage and where it came from. And I think those linkages back to our maritime history are significant. And the Julie Burgess does form part of that. And it can be seen as the focal point to actually increase that level of visitation and experience for Devonport. However, as I've said, it will be now up to the Julie Burgess to have a look at its business case and its business model, and it will be up to them. Because at the end of the day, irrespective if Julie Burgess thinks wound up, the council still ends up with it. So I think for the investment, we give it the best opportunity we can. But as the recommendation is in this report, we do cap it at 2 years, and then have a serious conversation with the Julie Burgess around, well, you're going to be in the best situation with the Keylink facility or the Keylink development coming to realisation, and if you don't capitalise on that, then I don't think that the council should fund it anymore, but I'm willing to give them the opportunity.
Thank you. Any further comment from the table from council? Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. Yeah. I have the same thoughts. It's been made 2 years rather than the 4 to give them the opportunity. It's look, it's something that can have a lot of potential, and who knows when the more favourable conditions appear there that the Julie Burgess will become a much greater asset for our city. And I think hopefully it will. And who knows if the Fisherman's Wharf comes reality, as has been mooted, it would be a fantastic addition to that precinct.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I agree that for the funding for the next 2 years, it will enable the vessel surety and take advantage of the new Keylink and possibly the new Fisherman's Wharf that's been touted. I did have a question about a succession plan for the crew and the masters, which I sent through to the committee, and with your permission, I'll just read quickly. The answer that they gave me was, currently we have in excess of 50 financial members, being a mixture of adult and student members, with most of these members being active in assisting with the organisation in various ways. At all the events which we attend, for example, home meal, garden fete, community events, etc., we actively advertise for volunteers and members with notices and pamphlets providing information relating to our operations and contact details for those members of the public who may be interested in joining Julie Burgess Inc. There's a relatively constant flow of new volunteers applying to become members, particularly at the start of the year, which reflects the number of younger members joining in and who are associated with the Maritime College in Launceston as students use time on the Julie Burgess as part of the requirements for seagoing time for formal qualifications. We also actively advertise for members even whilst undertaking our weekly sailings by talking to the passengers on the vessel as to the procedure of joining, being inducted in the organisation, expectation of the volunteers, etc. Last week, for instance, we conducted a charter for a church group with representatives coming from virtually every state in Australia and New Zealand, so significant exposure was provided by such an event. Currently, we have 4 skippers listed, of which 2 are seeking endorsement for their MED5 classification requirements for operating the vessel. Obviously, we are constantly on the lookout for potential skippers, with individuals being contacted and approached regarding becoming an active member of the Julie Burgess. So whilst we were talking about being financial, self-sustaining, it's very important that organisations such as the Julie Burgess Inc. has something in place for succession of their members and their qualifications of their captains, skippers, etc. I would take on board Mr. Gardner's comment, but I also say that the Julie Burgess, like any other council-owned facilities such as the Regional Gallery or the Paranational Centre, etc., the Arboretum, which we facilitate, as well as the Don River Railway, which we support, contributes wider and forms part of our local economy, whether it be visitation, accommodation, or adds to the reasonings to stay in Devonport. And it also creates and promotes volunteerism, which includes social involvement and mental health benefits for our community. So it's just not dollars and cents. It has a wider use and benefit for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comment from councillors? Councillor Shane?
Yeah, my understanding from the workshops that we've had in relation to the Julie Burgess to date, is that generally among fellow councillors, there's a view that the true potential of the Julie Burgess yet to be realised. And I think there's an understanding that once you pull a pin on these assets, very hard to get started in. So that's how I interpreted the hours of discussion we've had as councillors on Julie Burgess. And look, I really look forward to having further discussions with the Julie Burgess Inc. board on ideas, innovations, perhaps different ways of doing things. But I guess what I really wanted to say was I'm very fond of that vote when it sails past my kitchen window. I want more than anything for it to succeed. I'll look at it with the other councillors with clear eyes. You know, it's ratepayers' money, but gosh, it'd be great if we could get that sort of really satisfying a number of tourism and commercial needs as the river really kicks off with Keylink and potentially the yacht club redevelopment.
Thank you. Councillor Moore?
Tonight, I'm not going to support this agreement. There's no argument how beautiful the Julie Burgess is as it sails through the mouth of our river, nor how tirelessly the committee work for its upkeep. But my vote is based tonight on equity to other tourism organisations and our being a good steward of our ratepayers' money. I still have questions, and I take Councillor Martin's information, but I still do have questions about how sustainable their staff are to be able to operate this organisation long term. I appreciate the compromise for a 2-year agreement. And I take the point that the new development may increase operations, but I can't be convinced that it will increase enough to be able to be self-sustaining, that the council will no longer have to subsidise every passenger. It's for this reason I can't support the ongoing financial agreement.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Viney, are you ready to be part of the discussion? I know Councillor Murphy has a question.
No, that's a question.
Sorry?
Not a question. We just need an additional comment if it's permissible.
Well, we'll let everybody have a only meant to be a question. Councillor Lyon.
Thank you, Matt, and I appreciate listening to the other councillors' ideas around the table as I went. I was jotting down a few more notes to what I had. So I feel like the 2 years that's been suggested in the report was a compromise from the 4 years that was asked for by Julie Burgess Inc. And agree with the other councillors around the table that we need to give this the best opportunity we can for success, because it does have more potential than it's currently showing. But it's a balancing act, and I think it's fair for another 2 years. But I think the group also needs to see that as them being on notice that the current financials doesn't suggest that perhaps it is sustainable past that. As was mentioned, as has been pointed out in workshops, the ratepayers are essentially subsidising each and every passenger on the ship to a sum. But as Councillor Martin said, we can't look at it as just dollars and cents. And for every passenger that's travelled here from interstate or within the state or even overseas, if they come to Devonport just for that trip, they're spending more than the $80 to go on the boat. They're going to our businesses, they're staying in our hotels, and then they're going back to wherever they came from and they're telling how wonderful our city is. And that part is not measured and won't ever come up, in a financial statement. Hopefully with Keylink and more passengers in on the Spirits, that offers more opportunity, but there's also a chance to maybe look at other ways of revenue that don't rely on weather, that might be explored. And as Councillor Shan pointed out, and I've written down as well, if it's gone, it will be gone forever. We won't see something like the Julie Burgess back in our city again. I don't have the benefit of looking out my kitchen window to see it sailing past, but I do have a postcard on my fridge to look at it that I see.
Check. Take it. I'll take it. Take it.
That was it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy, do you have a question?
I'd like it to be a question, Mayor, but it's more a comment than what is a question.
Well, you've had your time to make comments. Can you put it into a question for me, please?
The question would be, Mayor, how much time, not necessarily dollars and cents, does the Julie Burgess commit to the Ulverston Sea Scouts, Devonport Sea Scouts, to community groups and to school groups? I'd like to know how much time is actually committed and how important is the Julie Burgess to those organisations, with them being able to achieve the necessary qualifications for their particular level of interest in that particular activity. Another question would be, Mayor, with respect to, does Devonport see itself as a regional hub for these types of activities? And as such, would it not be incumbent upon Devonport as a regional hub to actually provide some of these necessary pieces of infrastructure or equipment for others outside of Devonport to actually participate in?
We want to give him an answer from someone. Okay, it's so noted. Thank you. Look, at the end of the day, we have done a lot of work on this. It's certainly not something that was just came across our table at a workshop and we went, oh yes, that'll come to council and we'll all vote for it. There has been major discussions on the Julie Burgess. The representatives that came to speak to us were well aware that it's not an easy ask, and certainly have proved to us over the years that I've been involved with the Jolly Burgess since it was sitting on the slipway, being recreated almost, and having such a lot of work done to get her seaworthy, right through to the angst of getting enough volunteers to run it, the angst of having more than just one skipper, and having people that are qualified to look after this vessel on behalf of the Devonport ratepayers, let alone the region. And there have been times when I've been exactly down Councillor Moore's situation personally, where I've questioned whether she was worth the dollars that we've put into her. But in my personal opinion, she certainly is currently. But for us to consider just a 4-year term, we discussed that and came back with, no, let's do 2 years and see how she's going. We do need to see that she does keep improving and grow, as in a big ask of the volunteers and the organisation, but we do need to see that she becomes more and more iconic, because certainly a lot better than what 5-6 years ago some people said, didn't even know the Jolly Burgess existed. I think that's certainly not the case anymore. Most people do see the ship and see that she's out there a lot of the times. Whether we can get the information more out of the region, internationally and nationally, so that people can see her, I know that that's a lot of work that we are going to be putting, like Councillor Viney said, putting them on notice, saying to them, right, you've got another 2, it's actually 3 years the way this will work. They've got another year in what we've agreed to, and this is an extra 2. They've got 3 years to make a very big impression on this council for us to consider putting more dollars into keeping her on the water. There have been times we've looked at selling her, giving her away, had tenders, people coming into us and saying, we'll take the ship off your hands. But it wasn't, we weren't convinced. We were convinced to keep her at the time. We're now at this level where I've seen a huge improvement on being used, for people having that absolute amazing opportunity. And if you haven't been on the Jolly Burgess, I'm saying to the people out there, please go for a trip on her, because it is pretty amazing and something that you can't do everywhere. So I do believe that she's becoming part of our DNA. So I really will back this myself for another 2 years, but certainly we'll be looking at seeing if we can get them to improve and to grow and to do better for us to consider it for the next time. I will ask Councillor Viney now to close if there's no further comments or questions. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I agree. I think the 2 years is appropriate. I'll come around full cycle on this, where I was certainly opposed for not 1 cent more to, you know, what it is something special that we need to give it the best opportunity to succeed. And it's worth noting from the report, they're doing better than when council run it. So let's keep it going. Cheers.
Thank you. I will now ask for the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Aye. I'll have a show of hands, please. For it's Councillor Mercy, Councillor Ennis, Councillor Martin, Councillor Viney, Councillor Sheen, Councillor Jarman, and against Councillor Moore. It is carried. Thank you. And I will ask for Councillor Hollister to come back in the room if someone can let him know. Thank you, Ms. Lunson. Very kind of you. Oh, sweet. Thanks, Councillor Hollister. So we're moving on to 5.2, the tender report contract for Oldacre and Sorrel roundabout. The recommendation is there if I could have a move, please.
So moved.
Councillor Viney and Councillor Murphy, thank you. Councillor Viney.
Yeah, more roundabouts, great. Roundabout City. It was great to see someone from the gallery recommending more. I certainly don't have a problem with roundabouts on intersections, but I also don't drive a massive truck through the city, so I can see why people don't like them. It's all in the report with the tender. Was this, sorry, I'm having an extension, thought extension. Was this a black spot funded one? Or? It was. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Answer my own question. Yep. So great that it's not a massive onus on the ratepayers of Devonport, and it'll improve safety on that intersection and reduce risk of vehicle accidents. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to see it's under budget, unjust, but it's still under budget. And it's good to see that the contractors are very, very competitive, having a tender for a particular roundabout being so close, which is quite interesting. So obviously a sign of the time. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any further comment or questions? Councillor Hollister.
Yes, certainly bus drivers that have the most complaints about roundabouts. Some love them and some hate them, as we've all noticed over the years. I think the key thing is that there's much safer than crossroads. So I think there's any more to be said.
Thank you. No further comments or questions? Councillor Viney to close, therefore.
You can close that, Mayor. On one point, I was at the Middle Road roundabout that gets a lot of negative attention for larger vehicles, and I saw a pretty big truck getting around it today safely without incident. And I'll leave it there.
Some people are good drivers. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried. Thank you unanimously. 5.3 is combined Telstra services accounts on 3-year agreement. The recommendation is there. I can have the mover, please.
So moved.
Councillor Moore and Councillor Martin. Thank you. Councillor Moore.
I'd like to support this recommendation. It's a no-brainer, really. The reason it's come to council is because the expenditure over the 3 years is over the 250,000. From my reading of the report, we are already getting all these services from Telstra. By combining, we actually allows us to get discount, a technology fund, and we are already paying for the services.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. This is good lean management, offsetting by combining both accounts, again $18,000 for technology improvement for council, and it's going to be spread up to show up our technology moving forward. So I think it's a good investment.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll endorse the previous two speakers with respect to supporting the recommendation. If Devonport City Council is going to maintain its position as a leader in IT, I think this is only going to further support that, taking into consideration it does provide us to go down an increased level of cyber security, which, as most people now are becoming more and more aware that it is a genuine threat out there in the community, and the fact that we are going to endeavour to protect our ratepayers' information as best we can, and probably better than most, is a good thing.
Thank you. Further comments? No. Councillor Moore to close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? So carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.4 is the electric vehicle charging infrastructure. The recommendation is there. If I could have a moment, please.
I moved.
Councillor Hollister and move a second. So, and Councillor Ennis, thank you. Councillor Hollister.
Sign of the times, things are going more and more electric, so it's going to be more and more facilities. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Councillor Ennis.
Yes, I support this. The only other comment that I've raised before, it'd be great to see spread around a bit, and no doubt some more will be around the city in different places. They're all sort of in there. But anyway, looking forward to that, because it's a pain when you get caught and you can't get there and you're waiting. So increasing by 5 or 6 spots, I think, will be good.
Extra. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Murphy.
It doesn't affect my diesel ute.
Oh no, it doesn't. Need to get rid of that.
No.
Any further comments or questions? Councillor Hollister to close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? So carried unanimously. Thank you. 5.5 is draft report to council's household hazardous waste collections. The recommendation is there. If I could have a move, please.
So moved.
Councillor Martin, thank you.
Second.
And Councillor Murphy. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. I think this is a great event that should be happening, especially for the collection of household hazardous waste material. Certainly is important for correct environmental disposal of such waste, and it makes our community a lot more safer. Just like to also highlight that it's happening at Sprayton Transfer Station on 16th of November, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. So if any residents got any hazardous materials they want to get rid of, it'll be free during that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Martin. It's a good initiative. We need to support it and note that what the Craddock Coast Authority has been doing on this is good.
Thank you. Further comments, questions? Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with both previous speakers. I think it's a great initiative. The number that was in the report was 3 tonnes of hazardous waste out of people's backyards and in the correct spot. And I'll take this opportunity to also mention the following things that can also be taken to the waste transfer station at any time without costing anything. Aluminium steel cans, car batteries, cardboard, paper, e-waste, fluorescent tubes, gas cylinders, glass bottles, HDP plastics, scrap metals and car bodies, oil, paints, plastic products with plastic identification code number 1243, white goods, so you don't have to dump them out the back of rail, and other electrical appliances.
Yes.
Agricultural chemical containers don't have to be dumped, don't have to go into general waste. They can go to the waste transfer station for free. Thank you.
Well, you are Mr. Waste now. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any further comments or questions for the councillors? And I will just remind people that please don't put your batteries in normal landfill waste bins. That's why we have fires out of Darwin at the moment. So it'd be nice if people understood that that is not a simple thing to put into your waste bin. It needs to be disposed of correctly. So, and there are lots of opportunities for people to find out more. They could go to our council website, I'm sure, and also to Darwin's website and find out more if they need to know. Give council a call first before you put it in your waste bin. So I could ask Councillor Martin to close, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'll repeat that Sprayton Transfer Station, 16th November, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. People can dump their hazardous materials out there for free, and congratulate Councillor Viney for reeling off those list of items off the top of his head. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask all those in favour.
Aye.
Against? So carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 6 is information. 6.1 is workshops and briefing sessions held since last council meeting. If I could have a move of those. Councillor Murphy, thank you. And seconder? Councillor Sheen, thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Yes, Mayor, it's all there and important. You were a notable absence at the workshop on the 8th of April, and there was some fairly robust conversation on the evening.
Oh, I missed it. Sorry. Thank you. Councillor Sheen.
That was good fun, good discussion. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the councillors? No. So, Councillor Murphy to close.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. 6.2 is the Mayor's monthly report. No jokes, please. A mover of the recommendation.
No move.
Councillor Sheen. And second was Councillor Ellis. Thank you.
No, Councillor.
Oh, Murphy, sorry. Councillor Sheen.
Look, you managed to pack a bit in before you went on leave, so well done. There was one item that I wanted to add, which I forgot to put on the notes, but in your place, I think this is, that's right, yeah. So as acting mayor, I attended the Cradle Coast Connectivity Forum and asked the Minister for Communications, Michelle Rowland, how much money the federal government have allocated for black spot rectification in our area this year. The Minister wasn't able to answer that question, but said they'd get back to us. I was wondering if we could just follow that up with them. So we'd like to know so it stays on the agenda, because we do have some black spots that need attention.
Thank you. That's a great idea. And thank you for attending.
Very well. Very interesting. Not as interesting as the Trailblaze Tasmania watch, where I also got fed cakes and coffee.
Very nice, I'm sure. Thank you. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, in light of the information that Deputy Mayor Sheen has just shared with us, it'd be interesting to probably tap a little bit more into that. That may be something that we bring to a workshop with respect to, I don't think it's just black spot funding that needs to be addressed. I think it's in general, the level of service across our region, our municipality is terrible. So it could be something that if you'd like to, potentially we can put onto a workshop and maybe take a little bit further, because I think the level of service that we're receiving from Telstra and Optus from a mobile perspective is very, very inconsistent.
And hence this meeting was put together for the region.
Mm.
Yeah, it was very important. Thank you. Any further comments or questions? No, Councillor Sheen, to close.
Thank you, Mayor. One other point that I did want to mention was that there is some funding for farmers, a grant that it still has about $15 million left in that funding. Probably got about 30 days to go before that closes. But that is available if anyone, I don't know if we end up putting it up on our website, did we, for you, Mayor? We haven't, I'm sure it's imminent. But yeah, farmers can basically, get funding for things like soil, water sensors in soil and a whole host of things, drones, anything to sort of make, to use technology to make their farms more.
Would the Farmers and Graziers Association have that information to send out?
I don't know.
Okay.
We haven't. Yeah, the minister gave it to me and I'll forward it on. So yeah, if you get that up on our website, I think that'd be something likely for our guys to look at. Right, consider it close.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 6.3 is the General Manager's report. If I could have a move of the recommendation, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Second.
Councillor Viney?
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'm Gibber. Sorry, Councillor Murphy.
It's all in the report there, man.
Thank you, Councillor Viney.
Thank you, Mayor. Just interested with your in community engagement 2.2 General Manager, you've met with Claire Smith at DCCI discussing potential UTAS study hub in Devonport. Is there anything extra you can share on that meeting?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Claire, as President, was just keen to inform us that the Chamber are willing to support Council in any action they might take towards attracting UTAS to put a study hub into Devonport. And I just wanted to make that point. I was able to let her know that the Mayor and I have got a meeting coming up with the Vice Chancellor around that exact issue in coming weeks. So it was good to know
16th
that
of May.
Chamber are on board and supportive of that idea.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Any other questions? Sorry, Councillor Ennis.
Thank you. I noticed you met with the TAPE CEO, and I just wondered if he managed to tell you what was the uptake of the offerings for the Devonport TAPE. I know that they've offered some free things, but how is the Devonport TAPE going? Did he mention that?
Through you, Mayor, no, didn't really talk about class numbers as such, more about their future plans around infrastructure and also touching on the cooking school that's over in Market Square Pavilion and the relationship we have there.
We certainly need more trades people.
Don't we ever? Thank you. Councillor Martin, do you have your item? Yes.
Just asking my question.
Same question. Yeah. Well done. Thank you. Councillor Hollister.
The light and sound show development, that's completely different to Angels Park contract.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No further questions? I'll ask Councillor Murphy to close, please.
Consider it closed, man.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 6.4 is the monthly operational report. Again, a mover of the recommendation, please.
I move.
Thank you, Councillor Hollister. And a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Viney, thank you. Councillor Hollister.
All in the report. Fairly consistent as usual. Very good report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Varney.
Thank you, Mayor. I've found my monthly anomaly in one of the graphs for an
Oh,
explanation. It's on page 57. It's the value of building works estimated cost graph for March. When everybody finds that, be interested in to why that's about 3 times higher than any other month. Big month, big spend.
Ms. Lumsden.
Yeah,
You're
through
right.
you, Mayor. I did ask the same question, Councillor Viney, before I disappeared for a couple of weeks, and if memory serves me correct, that's actually the building figures, so it's for building applications, and we actually had some large residential developments that came in during the month that have contributed to that.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions from the council table? No, everybody's happy. Thank you. Councillor Hollister to close then.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? So carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7, we were going to move into closed session. If I can have a mover to
So moved.
sofa. Councillor Murphy and Councillor Martin, thank you. Councillor Murphy,
Really procedural, man.
thank you. Councillor Martin,
Nothing to add, thank you.
thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Murphy to close, please.
Consider it closed.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
And against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you to those in the gallery. It was very nice to have you here tonight. And we will move into closed session very shortly. Thank you.